You are listening to the Psychic Pinup podcast. Linda is a psychic, a medium and teacher, and also hosts her own live feeds on her Facebook page, The Psychic Pinup. Make yourself comfortable as she shares with us, over the next 30 minutes, stories of her experiences on this wonderful journey we call life. Wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining in. Now, over to Linda.
And welcome everybody. Thank you for joining me on my podcast. My name is Linda. I'm also known as the Psychic Pinup. I'm sure a number of you are quite familiar with who I am and what I do, and I'm sure many of you already do follow me on my Facebook page. And it's lovely to have you all here now joining me on my podcast. So welcome everybody. My name is Linda. I'm also known as the Psychic Pinup, and I'm so happy to have you all here joining me on my very first podcast, which I hope will be one of many to come. Now, I know that some of you who are listening to this do join me quite regularly on my live feeds on my Facebook page, which is the Psychic Pinup, and quite possibly also on the Psychic TV live feeds. So thank you for joining me. It's very, very exciting to finally get my podcast up and running. It's been something that's been in the back of my mind for probably the last 12 to 18 months, and it's something that I've sat on. And as you know, human beings, we seem to procrastinate quite a bit with quite a lot of things, and it usually takes something of significance to push us into gear and to move us on to the next stage in our lives. And that now brings me to my topic that I would like to be talking about this evening, and that would be 2020. So, as you know, we are about to see the back end of the year 2020, and I can hear you all cheering right now. But the thing is, just by turning the page of that calendar to a new year, to 2021, will that automatically resolve all the problems that the world has had in the last 12 months? It's like every year when we get to the end of the year and everybody says, thank God, but that's the end of that year. That's been the worst year ever. I can't wait for next year. And I seem to see that happen quite a lot with Facebook posts. And I've seen that probably for the last dozen years on Facebook, or however many years I've actually been active on Facebook. Every year somebody will put up that thank God it's the end of this year and we are now moving into a new year. I can't wait to see a new year. I'm so excited. But we just seem to keep repeating the same pattern every year, over and over and over again. And it's even down to the New Year's resolutions that people make. Every year people ask me, what is your New Year's resolution? And every year I will say to people, I don't have one. It's just something that I've never really have followed, because I know that whatever New Year's resolutions that I do make, I will quickly break them within the next week. It's something that I've just learnt to go with the flow. There's been a number of incidences where I've just put my whole trust into spirit, which we will be getting into later on in podcasts. I'm actually very, very excited about all these different subjects that I've got to talk about, and my head is actually bursting with ideas and how I can format my podcasts, and I've just got so much information that I just would like to share with you all. I'm very excited about what will be coming over the next 12 months with this podcast. So I would, again, thank you so much for joining me. Please subscribe to my podcast, as I will be doing weekly shows. And if you haven't already liked my Facebook page, I would ask you to go and do that as well, which is the Psychic Pinup. So, and I also have a website, which is www. I'd like to thank you all for, Again, I'd like to thank you all for joining me on this podcast, and I hope that you will find the information that I pass on to you, or the discussions that we have, quite useful to you, and you subscribe to my channel. Again, thank you for joining me on my podcast, and thank you for subscribing, and I look forward to sharing the knowledge I have gained over the last few years with you all. Feel free to contact me at any stage if you would like me to discuss a particular subject, or if you have questions you would like me to answer. I'm an open book. And a lot of people say they sometimes can be a little bit taken back with the amount of information that I can give out, but in my mind the information has been passed on to me through mentors, through spirit, through my own life experiences, and I think it's only fair that we do be an open book and pass this information on to others as well, just to help mankind. And particularly after the year that we've just had, 2020, it's if people need comfort and some sort of assurity or security, or something to give them hope for, I think it's now. So if you would like to drop me a line, you can do so by popping on over to my Facebook page, which is the Psychic Pinup, or you can contact me through my website, which is www.thepsychicpinup.com.au. Now, I also do have an Instagram account, but I very rarely use that. I know that I should be using it more. I am a bit naughty that way. I do believe that that is also called the Psychic Pinup, but I will check on that and I will get back to you. So there's too many things to keep tabs on. There's so many social media things, and there's just so much going on. So anyway, I'm going to come back to the year 2020 and the year it was. So as I just remember this time last year, everybody's so excited to see the back end of 2019, and everybody's so excited about how 2020 was going to be the best year ever, and even down to the numbers 2020 had some sort of significance to it as well, and I was seeing a lot of people being so excited about the year 2020 coming around. But now, wherever you are in the world, Australia went through a tragedy 12 months ago, and a lot of our country was burning. So we found ourselves all through Christmas, New Year, right through, I think, from memory, to the end of January, fighting bushfires, and a lot of people lost their homes. And I believe that a lot of these people still have not been able to rebuild, and a lot of towns are still trying to get back up on their feet. Now, that was understandable, 2019, and people are saying, can't wait for 2020, it's going to be a lot better year, which in hindsight would obviously, yes, it would have been, you couldn't compete with all those fires that we had going on at that time. But I just remember I was geared up and I was so excited for the start of 2020 as well. I had a lot of plans put in place. I had a lot of tour dates booked in. I had a lot of readings booked in. I was so excited for what the future would bring, even down to a show that I did have here in my hometown, which is in Wollongong. And I just remember it was the night before, actually it was the day before that show was to happen, when the government shut us down. And they said, we are in lockdown, we are shutting down all venues, there'll be no socialising. So I had 89 tickets, I think from memory, sold, 85 or 89 tickets sold for that show. And literally the day before, they shut us down. So that was a bit disappointing. But me being me, and if you do know me in life, I'm the sort of person who, I have this philosophy that everything happens for a reason. Now, I could do a whole show, a whole podcast on everything happens for a reason, but I'll just touch on it very, very briefly. And my reasoning for that, everything happening for a reason, was because I was meant to think outside the box here. I was a little bit too comfortable in how I was conducting my work. I found myself just a little bit too comfortable in my routine. So I was taking this as the universe sending me a sign that, hey, you need to think outside the box here. 2020 is going to challenge you. You need to think of new ways of doing things, which I did. So again, I'm always this view that I have also when we have these changes thrust upon us, do we resist or do we accept? And I think that's a lot of what a lot of people's problems are when dealing with day-to-day problems, family, friends, relationships, work. Again, that's another whole podcast that I can go into, which I won't do on this one, but resistance and acceptance. Okay, so I could have chosen to have resisted this whole pandemic that we were going through, that the world was going through, but I chose to accept it. And what I mean by that is I thought, okay, all right, it's happened. We can't do anything about it. I'm in lockdown. What can I do? So this is when I started thinking outside the box with a lot of things. So that show that we had booked in my hometown, I thought outside the box, and I thought, no, we will take this online. So we had a private Zoom platform show for those people who could not attend the show because of the shutdown. Here's the funny thing, right? And I still laugh about it now. I've been doing live feeds on Facebook now for 2 years, or a bit over 2 years. But the thought of doing a live platform show for people who I was going to be standing in front of in person, I was terrified of doing that. And I know that's funny when you think about it, but there was just something with me and technology and computer screens I just wasn't quite comfortable with at that stage. But again, I say everything happens for a reason, and Spirit has obviously wanted me to expand myself more into reaching out to a lot more people out in the world, and this was their way of getting me to do this. And another great example of that is with my readings that I do for the last 2 years. I was only ever doing face-to-face, in-person readings, and the amount of people that kept saying, can I do a phone reading with you, or can I have a video reading with you? And I would always be, no, I only do readings in person. Well, COVID had other ideas for me. So I had to think outside the box, and I had to take it all online. So for the next 6 months, I would say, most of my readings were conducted via Zoom video readings. And I'm really, really grateful for that, because it has opened up a whole new world for me. I now read for a lot of people overseas, which I would not have done in the past. And it's just given me a lot more exposure to the outside world. So again, when I say everything happens for a reason, it's so true. Everything happens for a reason. It may not be pleasant things at the time, but understand that the universe has other plans for you, and sometimes the not so nice things have to happen in order to clear the path for you to have better things come to you. Even down to rejection, whether you are rejected in a relationship, or you've been rejected from a job, or even down to a house. Understand that is the universe's way of protecting you, and also letting you know that there's something else coming for you, something that's probably more suited and something that's far more better for you. So again, everything happens for a reason. And it's sort of like my daily motto, and people who do know me, they know me. It's everything happens for a reason. I'm always saying that to them. I know I sound like a broken record, but I can't stress that enough. So I'm going to go back to our lovely year 2020. And this is another thing that I made observations with a couple of friends of mine. 2020, if we're looking at numbers, if you'd like to get into the numbers, and people were quite excited about the number 2020, saying, it's an even number, it's they repeat numbers. But when I look at it now in hindsight, 2020, look at it as a set of scales, where if you had 20 sitting in one side of one set of scales and then 20 in the other side of those scales, it's even and nothing's moving. So you've got these scales that are just even, no more, no less. And that sort of like makes sense to me when it comes to this year that we have just had. So now with the new year coming, 2021, hopefully with the different numbers here, with those numbers being in the set of scales, now we're going to start seeing some movement again. I hope you can get what I'm talking about, because it's only just occurred to me in the last couple of months, and everybody who I have spoken to about that gets it. So again, feel free, pop your comments in my Facebook page, connect with me, tell me what you think about that. So also, I would like to know, welcome everybody. My name is Linda. I'm also known as the Psychic Pinup, and I would like to welcome you to my podcast. So those who do not know me, I am a psychic and I'm also a medium, which is actually two different things. And I do know that a number of you do follow me on Facebook, which I do thank you. I'm very, very grateful for. And I do know that a number of you do watch my regular live feeds on Facebook with my psychic readings, which I do thank you for also. So here we are with my new little venture, my podcast, which is something that I've been wanting to do now for a number of years. And it's only been now I've actually gotten around to doing this. Time seems to get away on us very, very quickly. So here we are. I am literally doing this podcast on New Year's Eve. And it's sort of like my way of celebrating the end of the year 2020, which I'm sure everybody is very excited to be seeing the back end of. And now here we are finding ourselves... I will be talking quite a bit about the year 2020 and the year it was, and what we can expect in the new upcoming year 2021. But I know that a lot of you would be thinking right now, well, what's a psychic and what's a medium? Aren't they both the same thing? And it's actually two different things. And that's something that I find myself quite regularly explaining to people, the difference. So I thought I'll just fill you in as well. So a psychic is somebody who will tap into somebody's energy, so to speak, and they will be able to see that person's past, their present, and possibly their future as well. And when I say the word possibly, it's because we do have free will. We all have free will, which means that we are quite able to change our path at any time simply by making a decision. So when I do readings for people, it's where I see them at the present and potentially where I see them heading to. Now, a medium is somebody who connects with past loved ones. So what I mean by that is we do communicate with people on the spirit on the other side, and we do bring messages through to the people who we are reading for. So it is two different things, psychics and mediums. So there's also this saying that not all psychics are mediums, but all mediums are psychic. So you'll find that in this present day and age, most psychics and mediums, they will call themselves a psychic medium. So you do know that we are capable of doing both things. You know, 2020 actually had me doing a lot more work for spirit. And what I mean by that was that because I was in lockdown, I found myself with quite a number of extra hours on my hands, and I'm not really one to watch a lot of TV or Netflix. I do have Netflix, but don't ask me what shows are on there because I very rarely watch Netflix or Stan or any of the other shows that they have on TV. It's just not me. I'd rather spend my time connecting with spirit, and this is what I was doing during 2020. And it's funny because it's like even now, talking to you now, doing this podcast, none of it has been pre-planned. Everything I'm talking about to you is coming straight from spirit. So I will probably put my hand up and say I'm actually channeling a lot of this information as I am presenting it to you. I have nothing written down. I just speak from the heart or from what pops into my head, and that is how spirit does work with me. But the funny thing is, it is taking me a number of years to work this out. And I know that a lot of you who are listening to this podcast are either going through some form of spiritual development now, or you have been developing for quite a while now, and quite possibly even getting frustrated with developing, or things aren't happening as quickly as what you would like them to happen. But this is what COVID has taught me, that the whole time spirit was always connecting to me. I just wasn't listening. And I did come up with a saying as well during that time, and it went along the lines of something like, my team didn't let me down, doesn't let me down. I let my team down by not listening. And so this is the approach that I now adopt with just about anything that I find myself doing now, whether it be going to work, making readings, booking readings in, where I'm going to tour to do more readings or shows. I literally now go on the gut feeling, and that is me connecting to my team, to spirit, and trusting what they are giving me. And that is what they are doing now as I'm speaking to you. They are feeding this information through me to you, which I still like to have control. I still have control issues. I'm still human after all, but I'm learning to trust a lot more. And this is one of the things that I'm forever telling my students, that you need to trust. You just need to trust spirit. And I can't stress that enough with people. Now, me and all my sayings, everything happens for a reason. You've got to trust. So I'd like you to reflect on that over the next week as well, and maybe even drop me a note or a message on my Facebook page. Feel free to ask me questions as well. If you would like anything spiritual answered, please reach out to me. Ask me. I'm an open book. If I don't know the answer to it, I will try my best to find that answer for you. Now, everything that I do talk about on these shows, it's either I have lived it, I've been taught it, but it will not be something that I have just read out of a book. It all comes from me, and it all comes from my heart. So, as well as being a psychic and a medium, I also read tarot cards as well, so I may even start going through the tarot deck and introducing a card each week as well. Let me know if you'd like that. I'm quite happy to do that as well. Now, I have some questions here that people have sent in through my Facebook page that they are hoping that I will answer on this podcast, which I think I will. So let me just pull up my first question. So here we have a question from Sue. So, hello, would love to ask this question. Do your abilities ever take a break or stop for a period of time? Or since you've been aware that you have them, are they always with you? Now, that's a good question, Sue. Do I ever take a break? Short answer is no. It's always with you. It's a case of having the ability to switch off. And just let me explain that, what I mean by that. So having this ability, you're always going to have this ability. It doesn't come and it doesn't go. It doesn't switch on, it doesn't switch off. It's more about having control over it. Now, from my own beliefs, from my own experiences, spirit has got no concept of time, and it's up to us to set boundaries with spirit. And just let me give you an example there. When I go to bed of a night time, I will have a closing prayer to myself, and it's my way of letting spirit know that I'm going to sleep. Literally, I'm closed for business and not to disturb me during my sleep. And they're usually quite compliant with that. It's sometimes they can be a little bit naughty, but usually they're very compliant with that. It's all about setting boundaries, and it's all about setting intent with spirit. It's something that I believe firmly that it needs to be put in place from day one if you are going to be doing any form of spiritual work here, because as I said, they have no real concept of time. And being a psychic and a medium, it's like I walk around with a light bulb, let's say like a lighthouse, a light bulb on the top of my head, and all they can see is like, oh my goodness, there's a light bulb, she can see us. It's like a moth to a flame with them. So that's probably the best way I can describe that. Now, in terms of holidays, like I am now, I'm actually on a month's break from readings. And I did my last lot of readings the week before Christmas, and I did consciously decide to take a month off from readings. But here I am. I'm still working behind the scenes, and I'm still connecting to spirit each day. It's just my way of life. And the short answer is, I do switch off, but I don't switch off, if that makes sense. So, thank you for sending that question in. I really do appreciate that. I hope that has clarified a few things for you. I know that you are doing your own developing as well. Now, what I'm picking up through that question that you sent to me, Sue, is that you doubt yourself so much. And I think that all through your life, you've put a lot of other people first. And now here you are, and you are now starting to shine. And I feel like you are lacking confidence with that as well, because it's like, me? No, can't be. It's a little bit of disbelief that I feel with you. And I would like you in 2021, Sue, to drop that guard. And I want you to embrace the developing, because they are showing me you are getting it, you're just not believing it, and you're not believing in yourself. And so what spirit is actually asking me to pass on to you now, bear in mind, I channel a lot of this stuff as I'm doing podcasts. They're saying to me, don't doubt your worth. Okay, don't doubt your worth, Sue. So thank you so much for connecting. Have a wonderful new year, and I hope to see you sometime in the new year. So I'm just going to pop on over and get another question as well. Now, Megan's written, when did you first think or know you were psychic? Was it in childhood or later in life? Now, again, it's one of these questions like how long's a piece of string? It was always something that was very, very close to my heart. It was something I was always very, very interested in from a very, very young age. And I know now, looking back, that there were incidents, things that happened when I was quite a young child, which obviously I have just somehow pushed into the back of my mind, which I think that a lot of young children do. And I did not really realize that I was a psychic and a medium and until a lot later in life. Now, I'm not going to reveal my age, but it was quite late in life that I did discover that I was a psychic and I was a medium, and I had been my entire life, but I just did not realize it, because for me, the way I was, it was normal. And I can guarantee that everybody who's listening to this podcast can relate to that as well. Here's the thing. Everybody's born psychic. I don't doubt that for 1 minute. You can debate about it with me, but I will always say that everybody is born psychic. And my own personal belief is that it is something that is suppressed in us as we get older. So, we all hear the stories of young children who have the imaginary friends or their imagination, and it's the adults that knock that out of the young children, and before we know it, they've lost that gift. Some still manage to retain it, others can get it back later on in life, but my firm belief is that we are all born psychic. And we just need to have something to trigger that gift again. And from speaking to a lot of other psychics or people who do readings, who are very highly intuitive, sensitive, a lot of this stuff that I am giving to you is from my own personal experiences. there's been some sort of trauma in their life or a situation that may not have been so nice where it has triggered their gift. And for me, yes, that did happen to me as well. But I think I'll leave that story for another day. It's I won't bore you with those details so early on. Now, Megan, I have just tapped into your energy a little bit as well as I'm sorry. So you did send a question through, so I did answer that. But Spirit is also asking me to pass on to you that you need to make the change. So I'm feeling like there's things going on in your life at the moment and you're a little bit unsure, and I feel like you need to have that little bit of push there to make that change. And they're just showing me a nice big long sword, so I feel like there's quite possibly some things that need to be cut out of your life, and in order to free up a path for you to go down a new path. So please take all that on board. And thank you very much for sending that question in. I do appreciate that. So if anybody else would like to have any questions answered by me, feel free to drop me a line on my Facebook page, which is the Psychic Pinup. And also, please, if you haven't already liked that page, please do that. I will be continuing with my weekly live feeds there in the new year. Probably won't be until towards the end of January, as I have taken that month off, but I do psychic live readings on that live feed once a week. So I think I will wrap this podcast up now. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for subscribing. Let me know what you think. Let me know what topics you would like me to cover. As I said, my head is just bursting with ideas, and I know a lot of this is coming from Spirit, and I just can't get things out quick enough. So thank you so much, everybody, and I will catch up with you all next week. Bye for now.
You've been listening to the Psychic Pinup. To hear more podcasts from the Psychic Pinup, be sure to subscribe. You can also see live psychic readings by the Psychic Pinup on her weekly live feeds. Be sure to like and follow her on her Facebook page, the Psychic Pinup.